Okay, good evening, colleagues, and welcome again to for you to join us the number 57 edition of the Tourism Online Forum series here. In September, it's already autumn, or you can see it's already winter in Hokkaido. And tonight we are very happy to have you joining us. And this seminar was hosted by the Center for Advanced Tourism Research CATS at Hokkaido University. As usual, this is your host Mo, and I will be your host for tonight. And it's really an honor today. We have Dr. Mohamed Elbarbary, who will be sharing his recent research about the dynamic of street art, especially mural arts, as a tourist. We look forward to learn from this insight from his finding. And Dr. Mohammed, also you can call him Mido Sensei, is a lecturer at the Center for Tourism Research, Wakayama University. In 2022, he received a PhD in World Cultural Heritage Studies from University of Tsukuba in Japan. And Mido Sensei also use mixed method approach in research published in international peer-reviewed journals. His interest covers tourism study, cultural heritage, human geography, and also linguistic landscape. Mido Sensei worked as a works as a postdoc researcher at the Faculty of Art and Design in the University of Tsukuba. There, he led a research project, Graffiti, as a catalyst for a sense of place with the researchers from Hamburg University, German. And currently, he leads a research project titled Addressing Over-Tourism Issues in Global Cities, Street Art as an Alternative Tourism Product, collaborating with a research fellow from Breda University Applied Science in the Netherlands. And at my side, a few housekeeping notes before we begin. And tonight's session will be recorded and later uploaded to our CATS YouTube channel for those who wish to revisit or translate with another preferred language. And we also encourage you to leave your question and comments either live or leave it in the Q&A box below. And also English caption and subtitles are also available. Please click it if you need it. And without further waiting, let's welcome Mido Sensei to tonight's session. The floor is yours.
So thank you so much, Mo Sensei, for such a good opportunity. And it's always a pleasure to be here with you and also to give a presentation about our latest research. So dear colleagues, students, and everyone, thank you so much for joining us late today if you are in Japan, or morning if you are somewhere in any parts of the world. It's my pleasure to join us today. Please give me a few seconds to share my screen. And here we go. Please confirm that you can see my screen. So
yes, no problem.
Okay. Just okay. So can you see all the screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. So today's presentation, we are talking about the dynamics of street art, especially the murals, as one of the street art types. And we are examining a street art from the perspective of considering it as a tourist attraction. This could be something like not common in tourism studies, talking about street art as tourist products. But today, let's discuss together how can we do that and how already some policymakers and city municipalities already went for this alternative tourist products. I'm going ahead, giving you a few, like, I hope this is not hiding anything is not hidden within my screen. So Mo Sensei, can you confirm nothing is hidden?
So far looks good.
Okay. So Or if you allow me, I can stop sharing and share the presentation itself. Okay. So my academic and professional experience, as mentioned by Mo Sensei, I got a doctorate degree from Tsukuba University. And during that time studying in Tsukuba University, I also had the chance to study as an exchange student at the World Heritage Studies Department in Brandenburg University for around 6 months. For my master degree, I originally graduated from the Faculty of Tourism and Hotels at Fayoum University in Egypt. So I am Egyptian originally. My career, after graduation, after my bachelor degree, I started working as a tour leader and tour guide in Egypt, one of the famous companies, travel agencies called Cairo Express Travel. It's in a famous resort called Hurghada in Egypt. And this was for a short time because I was invited or employed as a demonstrator at the Faculty of Tourism, Fayoum University. And then after master's degree, I was promoted to be an assistant lecturer. So it was between 2013 and 2024. During that time, I was studying at Tsukuba University, but still affiliated to Fayoum University. So it was a scholarship given by the Egyptian government. Later on, after PhD, I had a chance, and I'm so grateful to Tsukuba University for giving me a chance to work as a researcher for almost 1.5 years as a Faculty for Art and Design. I'm so grateful because this time gave me a chance to broaden my network with other researchers worldwide, especially at Hamburg University. With Hamburg University researchers, we had a chance to study together street art in Japan and in Germany. So it gives me a good idea or like a concrete idea about what is street art and how it looks different between Asia and Europe, which is very important because as we will discuss today, the situation is almost different. And recently, almost 2 years ago, I started working at Wakayama University as a full-time lecturer, mainly at the Center for Tourism Research. But at the same time, I'm teaching as a Faculty of Tourism at Wakayama University. So I'm teaching tourism policy and planning and global tourism. But my research interests are various and include cultural heritage, which was my main PhD major. And I do mainly tourism research here at the Center for Tourism Research, besides human geography, especially a theory called sense of place. This is one of the human geography theories, discussing the relationship between people and place. And recently, almost I can say 2 years ago, I started being interested in what we can call linguistic landscape. And if you don't know linguistic landscape, examine the language at streets, like signages of shops, the multilingual landscape of different activities or services in touristic cities. And it gives us a lot of experience on how the cities can be changed over time. And this was one of the reasons that I shifted or became more interested in street art, because semiotic landscape, which is the other side of landscapes, urban landscapes. So we have both linguistic and semiotics. So linguistic dealing more with texts, but semiotics including both texts and images, like even symbols or any kind of images exist. And lately, my master specialty was about Islamic art and architecture. So as you can see here, it's a multidisciplinary research interests. I'm a member of different academic associations in Japan and outside Japan. So my latest publications mainly covering the previously mentioned the research interests, as you can see here, mainly focusing on human geography and sense of place. So let me just point here. This is the latest research published almost a few months ago. And this is like a mixed method research that dealing with the structure equation modeling. One of my co-authors, the research as well, it's for tourism also and culture, is dealing with metamorphosis. And this is a kind of relational creativity and something like quite touching my human geography and cultural heritage issues. And the most important one here is this one is about the symbolic functions of linguistic landscape, which, as I just mentioned, is touching the area of street art. But there is another research I didn't include here. It's published as a book chapter. I will show you as a reference later as a last slide. It's like directly dealing with documentation of street art and mainly graffiti. So I'm leading now two research projects. One of them funded by the GSPS, the Ken, and it's about destination image management, mainly examining the Arab visitors' image of Japan, and those who are visited, those who visited already Japan, and those who didn't visit it. So we are examining the construal level perspective. Another project, and this is what we are going to show you the initial results of this project today. It's with Breda University for Applied Science, researchers from the Netherlands, and Andre and Galicia. They are working for Breda University, and we are now starting this year doing this research, dealing with street art as an alternative tourist product that may address over-tourism issues. We will explain this today. And another research, of course, also dealing with graffiti as a catalyst for sense of place. I'm not only doing research or being all time busy with academic issues, but I also have a social life side. As I just mentioned, I was born in Cairo, the capital of Egypt, but I'm living in Japan for almost 6 years now. And I loved it so much. So thank you so much for Japan and Japanese people. For my interests, I'm enjoying Egyptian foods like the one below here. It's called mahshi. It's a mix of like spicy rice within grape leaves, like enrolled within grape leaves. And the second one is also an Egyptian main dish. It's called koshari, a mix of many different ingredients like lentil, macaroni, rice, fried onion, but it's very delicious. I think all my Japanese friends who visit Egypt try this one and they enjoy it so much. I like sushi as well and ramen. So I often go to gym for workouts. I play soccer, and I love traveling so much. So I travel a lot every year. I can speak several languages. As you can see, linguistic landscape is my interest, so it helps me a lot to identify the multilingual signs easily around. So I speak, my mother tongue is Arabic, and I can speak English. I studied English for almost like 12 years. And I can speak Russian because, as I mentioned, I worked as a tour guide. So I was a tour guide for Russian tourists. They represent the majority of tourists coming to Egypt. I speak also Spanish a little. It was my second language at bachelor degree. And I speak Japanese so. So my level is N4. So I'm like struggling and like doing my best. Ganbarimasu. So that's all. Please, if you have any question about my academic or social life, you can ask me later during the Q&A session. But let's move on to our presentation today and our workshop. Today we are discussing different topics. I hope you enjoy it, starting by identifying the difference between graffiti and street art. So many people are confused about them, between them. And we are going to discuss also the types of graffiti and street arts, and also the origins of graffiti and street arts. Later, we are going to give examples of how street art murals, as an example, have been used as effective tool to address tourism issue or for economic and socio-economic values. Later, at the end, I'm going to show you how the situation of street art is going on in Japan. But before starting, please let me disclaim that all the perspectives or all the discussions that I'm going to share today, they doesn't by any means to represent my own or reflect my own perceptions, but I'm going to discuss it from a scientific point of view. So whether you agree or disagree with it, please feel free. We can argue about it. Please don't share any of the workshop today, only for the cats for CAD University. So I give them the permission because they include some unpublished parts. So may I ask you, please, I don't need an answer, but I would like you just to think for a moment about the left side picture, this one. And yeah, you may notice those shoes hanging down from the ceiling, and some like stencils here. And of course, this is about like private property, but it's covered with a lot of like texts and graffitis and stencils and many other stickers. And the right side part, although there are some texts here around, but there is a big image of something here. It's not like fixed or not pasted on the wall, but it's drawn or sprayed with this can. It's called a spraying can. So this is mainly used for spraying street art and graffiti. And just give you like few seconds, give yourself few seconds to think about the difference between the two photos or the two sites. Which one is more comfortable to you and you may think has more value or maybe like acceptable for you, not for others? I'm asking you. I'm pretty sure, or like I expect that most of you would say this one may be acceptable, and we may agree with that. But others, like, I think this is a kind of vandalism. Okay. However, giving this example at the beginning, I'd like to make a distinction between street art and graffiti from the point of view of legality and illegality. But to give you a hint, until now, there is no precise definition for graffiti and street art. So scientists, different scholars, provided different definitions for graffiti and street art. However, we can make a quite distinction, like to some extent, from the point of view of legality and illegality. As published in one of the recently published books, Handbook of Graffiti by Routledge, edited by Jeffrey Ian Ross in 2016. So in the first chapter, he mentioned like about the difference between graffiti and street art, especially from this point of view. Merely, the chapter mentions that the origins of graffiti word derived from the word, the Latin word, the Italian word, graffito, and it means little scratch. And about the types, the difference between graffiti and street art types, they mention that, or the author mentions that graffiti include the words, figures, and images. But street art are those images made by, or any kind of art made by stencils, like pre-made shapes or like empty shapes that to make pictures or to spray pictures over stencils or stickers, and non-commercial images or posters. In this case, for street art, they are affixed, like as you are copying and pasting something on a wall, on a surface. But on the other side, the graffiti for the authors, from the point of view of authors, anything that is drawn, marked, scratched, etched, sprayed, painted, or written. Okay, for both graffiti and street art, they are considered illegal from the point of view, and because they have no permission from the property owner. So, as you can see here, both of them are considered or have been considered as illegal and vandalism. However, we have a different approach to identify graffiti and street art. So, from the point of view, or from the perspective of content and the material. So the content of, this is a different researcher, Walklock, Woklowick in 2011, even before Ian Ross. Yeah, this author argues that graffiti content focus on the rendition of names, the repetition of names, like having your signature written or sprayed or etched in many places to promote yourself. And sometimes it could be accompanied by an image or a photo. So on the other side, for the street art, they are less concerned with letters. They are rarely to find some letters attached to the image or the stickers or the type of street art. So they are more focusing on the visualization, but the visual images. But graffiti is more focusing on the text. So this is a clear and brief distinction. So street art is about images, but graffiti is about text. This is from the point of view of Woklowick. For the material used to do graffiti and street art, also we have another difference. So Woklowick thinks that graffiti like examples are done by spray paints or markers. So you can spray or just you can use a marker to do it. But on the other side, for street art, they are using images, even using stencils or like drawing those images in different manners of media. So a visual art created in those public spaces that we can call a street arts that tend to communicate the wider audience. And here I'll give you some examples of graffiti and street art according to the later distinction by Woklowick. So here we can see mostly texts, but sometimes they are accompanied by some drawings or images like this one in the middle. We call it the wild style. This is what we call it a tag or throw up. And here we have the traditional classic type of tags. Tags is like the name or signature of someone, the artist. We call this artist a graffiti writer because he writes his name in many places and in several times. And like here, the throw up is sometimes they call it the bombing because they can do it easily and like thick letters, English letters. Those examples are taken from Hamburg city in Germany. And this style is called the blockbuster style for graffiti. Is like, as you can see here, this is a group or a group name or a party name for graffiti. And I just mentioned about the wild style is quite complicated or complex, like in twinned letters. And here's kind of umbrella image. They are considered like type of the graffiti. While street arts, as you can see, are mostly images or visual images, either as a sticker or the stencil here. They can draw as many images as possible using the stickers as stencils. Or here, as you can see here, this one is drawn. This is from Osaka. This is a very recent project. I will talk about it later. It's called Baki Baki or Yudubaki project in Osaka, Jusu City. And last one here, as you can see, is this is like a large wall. Do what you love. And here are some kind of messages given to the public audience in Hamburg City. Okay, so what about the origins? When do you think graffiti and street art starts? So again, scholars are like not agreeing when exactly it appeared, but some of them did graffiti back to the year 700 before Christ. So it means that almost 2,700 years ago. But the earliest examples that we found, as you can see here, on the left-hand side, the bottom image, these are hieroglyphic letters found inside the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, and they date back to almost 4,500 years ago. And those letters are done by the workers of the pyramids as a message for the king. It means the friends or companions of Khufu. Khufu is the name of the owner of this pyramid. So they are like writing him a message. We are your friends. From as you are doing some favor for someone, and you leave him a message saying, "Here, this is from me." to you. While the other example that we also found in Italy, this from the city of Pompeii and Herculaneum, and those examples are dated back to the year of 79 after Christ. And here, as you can see, those are literal graffitis or texts written by the local people around. So this is the historical graffiti examples. So what about the contemporary graffiti? The contemporary graffiti is a recent phenomenon, like started in the early 1970s, mainly in New York, US. And it's largely connected with the hip hop culture that appeared also same time in the US, in some cities like Philadelphia and New York. And those people, like if you can see that if you can memorize some names of those parties appeared during that times. So they used hip hop culture, and they wanted to promote their group using the tagging, or even using the freight trains to promote themselves as a new activity or new artistic group emerging in the city. So from New York or from US to the world, this became like a common phenomena as an art, and spread over the world in the mid 1980s. Almost Japan also the same time, around the same time, that the earliest known example or the origins of contemporary graffiti in Japan dates back to around the same period, the mid 1980s. And as I just mentioned, it was used as a promotion tool, but also by some marginalized groups in the US to express themselves freely. So using graffiti and street art as a platform for expressing their thoughts, maybe sometimes mostly political and sometimes social, or claiming identity over territories. So in general, most of the graffiti writers, I mean the taggers, as you can see here, or doing throw-ups, they are aiming for fame and reputation out of doing this, or sometimes they have competitions among each all groups or among groups. They want to show whose one is more famous and whose one is more known to the public. So they use every single possible place or space in the public or urban places to tag it or to write their names. So, however, we have very famous and acknowledged examples. I think most of you have heard about Banksy. Banksy is one of the most famous artists, both a graffiti writer and also as a muralist. There is one fact that I want to share with you based on my research. All graffiti artists told me that all artists, I mean those who are doing like images, like street artists, started first as graffiti writers. So they practiced as writing their names, then they moved to be like images or street artists to draw images at a later stage. So as you can see here, this is one of the examples from Bristol in UK. And Banksy is a mysterious guy who his real identity is not known. So his commercial name or artistic name is Banksy. So he's doing such creative issues like that. So as you can see, this is a normal tree without leaves. So he just completed it using those paints, throwing the paints and showing as this person did it. It's not me. Don't keep it a secret. So this is a kind of creative art by Banksy, and he is using this style of creativity in changing urban places into meaningful and sometimes delivering political, social, environmental messages. However, being criticized and being chased by the police for a long time, and up to now, nobody knows who is Banksy. And here are some examples sent to me by Mosensi, thankfully, so I give him the credit here. And they say this is in Japanese and English. They say, Banksy, please draw it for us. However, in Japan, if Banksy comes to Japan, I'm sure he will be arrested and sent to jail. I'm going to show you this example of one of Banksy's most famous murals. As you can see, it's without audio, but This is a very controversial story about one of the pictures that sold at one of the auctions in UK, I think, that sold by about $1 million. But let's see what happened to this stencil, to this mural. It's called The Girl with Balloon. Look, oh, it's destroying itself automatically after being sold. Wow, everybody is shocked. Up to now, yeah, this is Banksy explaining what happened to it. So street art is not for sale. That was his message. So this was a very common and very famous story about street art shedding a light on the importance of street art, and it's not for exhibiting it into museums. It belongs to public streets. Therefore, today we are going to discuss from those who are with the advantages of street art, especially murals, and those who are against. So let's see to what extent we can rely on street art in different sides of our life. If you are aware of the word or the term sense of place I just mentioned earlier, sense of place consists of three main dimensions or constructs. So the first one is place attachment, and it's dealing with the feelings of people towards the place. Like if you are feeling comfortable with being in one place, or if you are enjoying, feeling relaxed, or feeling happy or blessed, this all can be described as place attachment. So this reflects your emotions towards this place. And some previous research, like proved that sense of place and mural, street arts, mural and graffiti are connected to some extent. For example, when you see a beautiful street art mural, you say, wow, that's wonderful. So giving you some insights or good emotions, good feeling toward it. And also both negative feelings. So place attachment can be positive and negative. So you can deliver bad feelings towards those vandalized spots, or those giving you the feeling of unsafety or uncomfortable. The second dimension is place dependence, and this describes to what extent we can rely on this place to satisfy our needs. So for this reason, we can rely on street art to enhance our tourist offerings or deliver alternatives for tourist attraction. So it also proved by recent research that street art, including murals, can be used for supporting community development. To some extent, it can express the people's history or can beautify their places. We can use it for urban revitalization or social solidarity and even culture exchange. So you can share your culture and you can like show the art of Japan, for example, like the anime culture or manga using street art. So also, yeah, I'm going to show you later some example of using street art as a tool for socioeconomic advantages. And the later dimension of sense of place, we call it place identity. And we have this dimension deals with identification with place. In other words, to what extent people identify or feel belonging to or proud of being in this place. Do you think street art murals can do something with this dimension? Yes, this is the most common dimension that can be enforced by street art murals. A recent project now that I'm going to share today from Breda city in the Netherlands, mainly dealing with this point. The street art murals can enhance and strengthen the feeling of the people identification with their city and let them feel more proud about their city by some means. So I will explain about this in detail later. I quoted some of the artists and local quotes or narratives that from our research interviews. So I'm not going to explain all of them, but this is one of the Japanese artists based in Hiroshima. We interviewed him in 2022. So he says that we were in the UK and there was kind of like an ugly, scary tunnel, and nobody was like going there because they are scared. But we went there because it was very safe, and for us to do it, nobody will like chase us there, and we can do some murals and beautify this place. We cleaned it and we painted or drawn some murals on it. Later, the city hall of this city, in it was in London, they noticed that the tunnel became clean and beautiful. They decided to illuminate it and turn it into the holy land of graffiti. It became very beautiful, and everybody acknowledges this work. And you can understand now how the street art murals can be a reliable tool for urban revitalization or changing of the place identity from a scary place giving negative feeling to a beautiful place giving positive feelings. Another quotes from the local people who feeling alienated when, or feeling missing something when they are away of their home, because they used to pass by famous or common murals when going back from their work to home. In their ways, they used to see those murals. But one day, Karina Sanz mentions that one day when I was going back to my home, I missed one of the murals so that I used to see in my way back to home. So I felt very sad about it. She felt something like missed or lost from her identity. She used this mural as an identification mark. And she mentions that she lives in Hamburg, and she mentions that when she travels abroad to some cities where she cannot find a lot of murals as it is in Hamburg, she feels something is missing. Hey, this place is neutral, it's plain, I don't like it. She feels, she gets used to seeing colorful walls. A little example from Breda city. This example, like it increased the proudness and belongingness of the local people towards the city, because the mural project explains or reflects the history of the city through street art. And here I'm showing another potential for street art murals. How can we use it as a tool to enrich the place identity of places. One example here to the left side from Hamburg city is the ward of San Pauli in Rivierbahn. And you can see here there is a famous FC club, football club, called San Pauli Club. So they are very attached to their club, and they are so proud of it. So they have this simple and use street art to support their team. So they are making or reflecting their identity of supporting this club by using this mural and some supporting phrases or text saying Forza San Pauli or San Pauli. On the right top side, this one is a commissioned mural project at the Kanagawa prefecture, and from the Tinnozu ward or city. So here, this is one of the mural done by an artist. I think he's Brazilian or Spanish, Diego. So Diego did this mural that express the components of or the identity of Tinnozu. What you can see here, like the colors representing the sea, as he mentioned, the oceanfront area, the steps of people walking around. As you can see here, some of the legs, some foods here you can identify. And he say alongside the canal, and also some intertwined from letters in the graffiti, like mixed wild style graffiti. So this is how he can express the city from his point of view using murals. We are talking about a matter related to reflecting a place identity in this occasion. Another example, which I like it, how the people can use street art to retrieve back their memories. When I was visiting Breda last month, I stopped by this mural, and I had a guide with me who explained to me the story behind this mural. The owner of this house, this is the back side of one of the houses, and the owner approached one of the artists called Isakov. He asked the artist to, can you paint for me a church that I missed a lot? It was existing in Breda, but it was demolished. So I miss this church. Can you please, I have a picture for it. Can you please repaint it to me so I can see it every day? So I miss it a lot, so I feel like it still exists. So this show you how can we keep the place identity by some means using street art murals. Another example, like for the placemaking using street art murals, as you can see, here's this example to the left-hand side from Osaka Yudogawa Award. And this is the Yudobaki, or done by Yudobaki project, started in 2021. I think during the COVID-19, so the city of Osaka was preparing for the Expo 2025, and they wanted to make the city more beautiful or attract the tourists to suburban areas. How to attract the tourists or visitors to suburban areas? By using street art. This was the way they thought about to do so. However, I think that the project is not very famous or common, even for Japanese people, I believe, because the quantity of the murals and also the marketing campaign is not that efficient yet. But if you search the web about the Baki Baki group or street art group, you can find a lot of murals done in Osaka, in another project underground in called Simba Park in Osaka city. For also Breda city, to the right-hand side, we have another artistic group or association. It's a non-government association called Blind Walls Gallery. And this is kind of like a collaborative project between the City Hall of Breda or Municipality of Breda and this association. And this is a common consensus over the importance of street art resulted in this wonderful project that is used for as a tourist attraction and also used for urban revitalization of Breda city. One of the recent research done by my colleague Licia Calvi, one of my co-investigators in my recent ongoing research, she published a book chapter with other colleagues about murals as creative placemaking tool for interventions, using the example of this Blind Walls Gallery. For the project started in 2015, so it's almost 10 years now. And as you can see here, the examples of the mural are unique. Why? Because those murals doesn't represent or express the artist's point of view. So the artist doesn't like draw whatever comes in his mind, but those are the outcome of the stories of the local community about what they can memorize about the history or from the past of Breda city. So they approach the local people, ask them about the history of the city, what they know about Breda, and they convert into this story into a mural. For example, some people told the artist about how Breda was looking like as a night for the people drinking. Other people like who are the original residents of Breda, this expressing how Breda is changing a lot. So the original people used to meet and drink, and it was more peaceful and no hassle, no conflict. And here, as you can see, expressing that Breda also we have a lot of canals, so enjoy fish and smoking weeds. The drugs is legal in Breda and so on. So this is explain in briefly the story of night in Breda. And what is unique about this project as well, that you have guided tours. So the Blind Wall Gallery, you can book a tour with a guide explain to you exactly or in details about all some of the murals, not all of them, because now there are about 200 murals over the 10 years. Some of them disappeared, but they have a very interactive map. If you check their website, you will see the map like showing what is still exists and where, and what had been vanished. And you can scan this QR code for any mural, which is you can find with any murals. You will find this label with a QR code. So visitors without guides, they can scan the QR code, giving them more information. And guess what? The city hall itself or the municipality is promoting for it, and it attracts a lot of people, including me, myself, and other people joined one of the tours during my visit. Another, I think time is running out, so I will speed up a little bit. Sorry, but another example, like for using street art murals for branding the city, as I told you before about the quote from one of the locals from Hamburg City. She said the city is colorful. Yes, this is what is branded by the Hamburg Museum of History to exhibit one of the galleries showcasing 5,000 different pieces and artifacts for the graffiti history that existed in Hamburg City between 1980s and 1980 and 1999 for almost you can say for almost like 20 years. And the exhibitions, this is the intended dates to hold this exhibition, but it was extended for one more year. It was like planned to extend until 2023, but they decided to keep it for one more year, which means that it attracted a lot of visitors, including me. I visited it one day in 2022. So you can see here also another example with creativity. Can you read this word? This is a kind of word with different letters. I can read this one easily. You are. Can you identify? Yeah, the word is welcome. So this is the W, and you can find where is E, welcome here. E, this one in the middle, and this is the L, and this is the M. Sorry, this is this is the C, this is the M, and this is another E as a hint. You are welcome. And here is like, because this is the outside wall besides the gate of one of the public library, that has also a music studio. So you are welcome. So expressing as a message for everyone, here is a artist who made it in a creative way, expressing that everybody is welcome, disregarding his background or interests. So you will find whatever you are looking for. Another potential for street art murals that is used for urban beautification and revitalization. So this one of the tunnels in vaulted tunnels in Breda cities that used to be dark at the night, and people avoided it because it was scary. So they decided that the Blind Walls Gallery project decided to convert it into a very beautiful large mural explaining one of the battles that between the Dutch army and the Spanish army during the 16th century. So that's very interesting. You can see here the arrows and the soldiers and birds, and here's the sea as well, ships and so on. On the other side, you can see also one of the World War II bunkers, shelters, area shelters that left from World War II in Hamburg City. They couldn't destroy it or like remove it because this is a large concrete building. So they decided to give it as a space for artists to paint it or practice on it before moving to public streets. So other examples for using street art, they can be used for educational purpose, as this book, for example, illustration book for kids by Fiete. Fiete is one of the artists from Hamburg City. This one is used for nursery children or kids to teach them in a fine way using street art illustrations. Soiku is, as I mentioned before, he's from Hiroshima. He's an artist, like commissioned artist. Now he is selling his art pieces using T-shirts to print street art throw-ups and graffitis on T-shirts and selling it. As you can see, the price is quite high. It's expensive. Or we can use the street art also for some kind of environmental issues, because as you can see here, this is one of the chairs under renovation. So this is what we call the fence that covers the chairs. So it should be ugly, but they decided to get some of the paintings from inside to outside using street art. So showing a good image of the church external. This is a Hamburg San Pauli Stadium, and as you can see, this is a social event that happens every year. A lot of artists, over than 100 artists from all over Germany and other countries, they gather at one day every year. So they paint the walls of the stadium with different topics that express their society, their art style, artistic styles, and so on. So this is a kind of socializing events. They invite the local people as well to help them. Or we can use also for like informative or political to raise some messages for the people, warning them about climate change. As you can see here, this is Berlin Wall, the East Gallery of Berlin Wall, showing a message like save our earth, like shedding light or highlighting the climate change issue. Last but not least, we can use the street art as a tourist product. As you can see here, some of the famous artists like Banksy and other famous artists in Germany like Uzi, their artwork is highly appreciated because these are rare, and even if you only can find or nothing left except of the tag of Oud's, so they moved the whole artifacts to the museum because all Oud's work has disappeared and he died. So they kept it in the museum so that people go there to visit it. The same for Banksy, as I mentioned, it was exhibited one day, this mural that I showed you, like destroying itself for the girl with balloon. It was exhibited in Shibuya, Tokyo GMO Digital Art Museum in 2022. So because Banksy is one of, as I mentioned, one of the most famous artists over the world, and some of his work are sold by millions of dollars. So here, the graffiti or the street art exhibition, the city became colorful. That was in Hamburg Museum. Or they can use street art for guided tours. They can make money, and also they can promote the city identity, explaining its history using street art. As you can see here, this is one of the tours I joined in Breda city last month. And here is the guide explaining to us the story behind this princess and how she she's holding a skull of one person. He used to be one of the royal from the royal palace that she had a problem with him, or because she refused to marry him, she killed him or something. Like it's a bad story, so I'm not going to explain. So let's move quickly to Japan in less than 10 minutes. So I will show you the examples from Japan. How is the situation of street art in Japan? Some of you may notice while walking by the street, some of the letters, scratches, tags, throw-ups, but it's very rare to find images like those. This one is from Shimokitazawa, who are in Tokyo, and it says Tokyo is yours, like for the showing hidden messages for the original people of Tokyo, showing them as like the Indians of America, as Tokyo is a place for the original people only. This is a kind of claiming territory. So as I mentioned, the street art history in Japan started in the early 1980s, while at the same time spread over the world. And the reason behind the spread of street art and graffiti in Japan is the media or movies. There were two famous movies in cinemas at that time, around that time. The most famous one is Wild Style, that explain the story of one of the youths, one of the young guys who was suffering a hard life and using graffiti to express his feelings, and was chased by the police. And like it's a kind of interesting story that inspired a lot of the Japanese youth at that time and encouraged them to imitate and do like this guy. However, this culture or graffiti culture for Japanese conservative community was not very acceptable at that time for the for the old community or the old people. But for the youth, it was kind of a trial. So they did it, and few examples appeared around that time. And during that time, there are examples like were described as rakugaki, and this is a Japanese word meaning scribble. It's the same as the students scratching their names on the desks of their school. So it's a kind of vandalism. This giving you an idea about how the Japanese looked at the graffiti legality as the early times. Scholars studying graffiti and street art, they say that the earliest examples of graffiti tend to include Japanese letters. As you can see here, some of the examples by Mami Mozi. She is famous for doing graffiti using Japanese kanji. And a famous example that unfortunately disappeared, it was in Kanagawa Prefecture and Sakuragichu corridor connecting between the Sakuragichu station and Yokohama station. It appeared in the early 1990s by an initiative of one of the artists called Rocco. And this one was supported later by the Yokohama City Ward municipality, commemorating the 35th anniversary of sistership with San Diego City in America. So they invited some artists from the US and some artists from Japan, and also school students to paint 50 murals during that time. So the murals stayed there or kept there for around until 2008. Then later were removed because the situation was uncontrollable. So many artists appeared around, using private properties and they trying to spread graffiti over the city and street art. So the city ward decided to stop it. So here is the place, if you don't know, where is Sakuragichu. Another famous example is from Mito city in Ibaraki Ken, the place I lived in, Tsukuba, near Tsukuba. And this is a very famous and rare event that once held in 2005 between October and December, and included 38 artists from Japan. They exhibited their work at this exhibition or gallery that's lasted for almost 2 months. And after that, it was very useful because at that time, it gives local people an opportunity to visit the exhibition and change their perception towards street art. Later on, the artists, including Soiko-san, I interviewed him. He was one of the members, joined this gallery or exhibition, and told me that later the local people contacted us, asking us to paint their own walls. Even the Mito city asked us to paint the walls of the station outside the station. So the paintings actually still there up to now. If you visit Mito station, you will find the murals there. Here are some examples from Japan, different wards and different cities. From Tokyo, this Shimokitazawa, and mainly most of the shutters, the doors of shops are painted with murals. Mostly there are many on the light poles in Tokyo that you will find out stickers, mostly in English. And also, like in Osaka, if you in the street leading to Amerikamura or American Village, you will see this mural. It's called Peace on Earth. As you can see here, somebody like this should be representing trees or somebody representing the soil of the earth, walking in peace. And here's like giving some examples from Koinji. This picture that I placed in the front slides or the cover of my presentation today, it's in one of the corners that is hidden for cars and for pedestrians. So it's a warning for everyone coming to watch your steps, watch your back. You may have an accident because cars are speeding, and please, it's kind of warning message using street art. This is a Simba project. If you go to Jusu City and the Simba Center, you will find a cafe there, so you can find those murals still there. In general, so I will skip the previous murals talking about the characteristics, but as you can see here, you can see the difference between Japan and other cities in the world. There are few examples, even in Japan, Tokyo, in Osaka or Tokyo or other cities, and mostly you will find tags and stickers like that, and few murals. So murals still very rare in Japan. Some of them are commissioned or permitted, like this project. Others are done uncommissioned, like this one. some are permitted by local community, like this one, and others are not permitted. So you will find a mix between legality and legal and illegal. As you can see here, restrictions are everywhere about graffiti and street art over Japan. Those examples only from Tokyo, prohibiting graffiti or scratching or pasting anything on the wall. As you can see here, very clear, there are CCTV cameras. Please keep the place clean and no violation for graffiti, using graffiti. Even skateboarding. Why skateboarding is prohibited too? Because mostly, as I asked one of the street artists and told me we use a skateboard to escape from the police. So that gives us like a quick move, so the police officers can catch us in the sea. So here are some examples already removed. This is from Harajuku, and this is one of the most famous examples that every single tourist go there to take a picture. It has like a negative message, or like a message saying sometimes it's nice just to destroy shit for here. So this was removed later for criticism. And as you can see here, the owner of this shop, as you can see here, like placed some plants in front of the wall to prevent anybody to repaint it. In Hamburg, it's not the same situation in Japan that the people remove graffiti or street art, but still in Hamburg, while walking by Hamburg street, I found this guy removing like graffitis or tags from the wall. So still, they remove the tags, but they can't tolerate with murals, so they keep murals like this. Therefore, from our side, we did this research and published it as a book chapter with my colleagues, Ikeda Sensei from Tsukuba University and Andre Sensei from Hamburg University. This is one of our recent research that I mentioned about, published this year. So we use the technology to document our work. As you can see here, this is a 3D documented example of tags and murals in one of the walls of a building in Shimokitazawa. You can see here, using only iPhone, we documented this one. There is an application that we use easily. It's very convenient and easily used. We scan the wall using the iPhone, and just you can produce an interactive 3D model for the mural or the wall itself. So you can zoom in, zoom out, and document. Even you can use AI to detect the similar tags or murals. This is the example I just showed to you now. So it gives you a clear idea, better than the pictures or images, to understand the environment surrounding or the settings where those murals or tags exist, to understand the characteristics or urban settings. At the end of our presentation today, I'd like to give you further reading examples if you want to increase your knowledge about street art and graffiti. Here are some of the examples, like the Ross book of 2016, the most recent one published this year about creative cities, including 12 examples of cities that showcase murals over the world. And this is the atlas of murals, giving a few examples from all over the world. Here are some references for your information that we included today in our presentation. And here is our recent published reference. It's a full book chapter, peer-reviewed chapter published by WH Publishing in Hamburg. So thank you so much for listening today, and please follow up for more upcoming events in CTR or even Hokkaido Center for Tourism Research. So thank you so much. So Mo Sensei, please.
Thank you very much. It's perfect timing. I mean, don't need to worry and hurry up.
Thank you.
I just don't want to stop you because it's all fascinating. We already have a question waiting, and would you see that graffiti tends to be more abstract than street art? That's the question.
One more, please. One more time.
Would you say the graffiti tends to be more abstract than street art?
Okay, that's a very nice and somehow difficult question. So we can say it's not abstract, but more complicated than street art. So as you can see here, for graffiti, according to my definition of graffiti, as I mentioned, that include tags, wild style. So it's very difficult for common people like us or non-artists to document or read it because it's overlapped and even sometimes written in a very complicated way with intertwined letters or even like in different languages, so you can't understand it. It took me time, almost 1 year, to know the way how to read those tags or how to identify the similar tags for artists. So you need a graffiti artist to help you to do that. So it's not totally abstract, but I can say the opposite. Street art is can be abstract, I mean,
Mm,
but more meaningful and more valued by the scholar or academic community and also for policymakers.
mm.
So compared to graffiti. So I hope this answers your question.
Okay, so we have other questions, two more questions from the chat. And by
Yeah.
Sean Sensei ask, consider how much Banksy's creativity is sold at auction. I understand the right-hand side photo, why it says Banksy, please draw here, because the halo effect,
Yeah.
right?
You
Mm,
know what? Yeah, that's a very good example why I think this guy who is saying this message to Banksy is very smart because later he can sell this wall. So it can be sold by a lot of money. It happened one day, or
mm,
in one example, while reading one of the books that I found one
mm.
author mentioning that an owner of a property decided to cut the wall and sell it to a museum because it was drawn by Banksy. Can you imagine that? The fence wall, the fence of his property. So I think this guy was smart. He it's a trap for Banksy. Come, but
Right.
yeah, yes, I'm
Yeah.
joking. So he identifies the value of creativity in Banksy art.
Mm. I think I know a documentary film is actually about Banksy. Later, I will share to the public channel when I search the information. But before that, we have Yanni's question as always from APU. And hello, Middle Professor Middle. Thank you for your presentation. Really interesting topic. My name is Yanni, is a student from Lismik Asian Pacific University. Just graduated last month. Congratulations. And thank you for keep joining our channel. May I ask about the government's role in mural projects? For example, do they have any policies or rules about the color choice or stories, contents that artists can paint, especially it based on their owner's request? I wonder how this affect the meaning or message of the mural. That's a great question. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's a very, very smart and a very good question. I'd like to thank you so much and congratulations on your graduation, Yenisa.
Mm,
So yes, there are some like directions or control over the work of street artists if they are commissioned by the city policymakers. One of the examples, like I can mention that in Breda city, the city hall sometimes decide on the topic before they sketch it onto a paper to show it to the city hall or the policymaker so they can decide whether it will be accepted or not. Yeah. So sometimes even in Berlin Wall, I have been told by the Berlin Wall Foundation managers that they removed some of the murals that has received a lot of criticism from the public community. So you can understand how the process is over controlled sometimes by the policymakers. On the other hand, like street artists have no restrictions on their work if the property owner asks them, hey, I'm interested into your style. So they give them a freedom to paint it into any topics they feel it's maybe suitable. So yes, government plays a main role in promoting street art or even in choosing the size, the colors, the theme. So sometimes yes, they even can decide on the artist who can paint it. So sometimes they choose between the artists and who can be assigned for this spot, who can be assigned for a backyard area. So they prefer between the artists. Yeah. So
Okay, I think you are doomed. You have more questions coming. Thank you for your lecture. Would like to ask if street art or graffiti takes place in rural areas, does it serve to strange or weaken the local culture and identity?
Uh,
Regional context, non-urban context.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a very also meaningful question to me, especially for our
Mm.
recent research. We used to find murals and graffiti within crowded urban spaces, and the reason is that the main purpose of the artist to promote themselves or their work. So rural areas means that few people go there. So that's why we found a few examples of graffiti or street art in rural areas or suburban areas. But here nowadays there's an approach or um, like a trend of using street art to as an alternative tourism product. That's our recent research. We are trying to um, get the tourists away or redistribute them away of crowded city centers by giving them a reason to visit suburban or like less crowded areas using street art. So intentionally, the city of Breda didn't place any of the murals, the 200 murals, into the city center, crowded areas, or the main streets. Instead, they placed it in parking lots, hidden streets, side streets, so that people can have a slow tourism style visit. So they can walk around the side streets and they can be distributed among the away of the city center. So this is a very smart question, and I'd like to thank you for it. That's what we are aiming to do now, as using graffiti and using street art murals, sorry, as alternative products that we aim to make a project, or we aim to show how can we use street art to attract the tourists out or redistribute tourists out, getting them away of city centers. Because if they have like a reason to visit this area, then not everyone will go to the city center, like in Osaka, Namba, or they still have to go to Namba. But if you can tell them, hey, there is a Jusu City. Jusu City has a very recent project for street art with anime characters, or for history of the city in creative street arts. Many people will do. Some people in my previous lectures or workshops told me, but it's very risky and costs a lot of money,
Mm.
because in Breda, one mural costs 2,000 to 25,000 euros. Yeah, it's too much. And they told me it's a big loss of money if the tourists didn't go there. Okay, when you do that, you have to include every possible stakeholder in the process to avoid any criticism, to get support from both local community and to promote, to help, to get the people help you promoting it over SNS or social media, or even to invite their friends. So this is what Breda City did, and this is how they became the first successful example using street art as a tourist product for revitalizing their economy, so they can make money to support artists, to support the city economy, and also to provide job opportunities for tour guides and for artists. So it's
Mm.
it's a very wise idea. So I hope this
Mm.
answers your question.
Yeah, and also Professor Sean Kim from Adam Kwong University in Australia also thanks your class. Because on behalf of his class of tourism, hospitality, and creative industries, I believe tonight we have a lot of audience from his class as well.
Yeah,
He
thank you so
says,
much, Professor,
yeah.
for your time and for showing up, joining us in today's presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, he also has a follow-up questions. Nowadays, a lot of cities attempt to capitalize in the benefit of public art and street art as a leveraging tool of visitor economy. And what are the key differences between the cities, for example, in Europe and Japan, in terms of their approach to this type of visitor economy? That's also a quite deeper question.
Yeah, I think you touched the point we just discussed right now in Breda City. As I for the first part of your question, you mentioned that how cities can rely on or leveraging street art as a tool to promote their identity or placemaking. As I showed one of the examples by our colleague Alicia Calvi, who mentioned how the blind walls gallery is a very efficient tool for placemaking, converting or transforming Breda city from a local, unknown, least known touristic attraction to becoming a main hub for every visitor who is coming to the Netherlands and interested in street art to visit Breda city, not only for the few examples of like churches or historical buildings, but also for having a unique and rare experience of street art guided tours. So one tour costs 17 euros per person, and it lasts for 2 hours by a bilingual guide. So you can imagine now how this project like promoted or branded the city as a city of art, artistic city, and also as a tourist product that can be relied on as an economic tool for revitalizing the city economy. The second part for the second part, yes, there is a big difference in the way how the governments in Japanese cities and European cities dealing with the matter. I will show you two examples, two different approaches in how the conception towards graffiti changed in European cities by time. For example, the first one from Hamburg city, when I just like had a meeting with one of the policymakers, he told me, look, we found that we lost control over graffiti and street art in the city. It's like pumped over the city. You can find every single wall. You will find at least 3 murals or 2 murals in the wall overlapping, and a lot of stickers and tags. So we realized that we cannot control and remove it. We remove it this night, this day, at the daytime, at the night they repaint it again. So we decided to invite the artists into a meeting, like understanding meeting. We shared our ideas and to keep the city beautiful, not to offend the privacy of the local residents, because this is not legal, and also to make the city as colorful and beautiful for showing a good image for us. This was the message or the way they convinced the street arts to collaborate. And the result is that Hamburg City now, it's not a written rule, but they are tolerating with the street art by somehow. So there is also, like recently they launched street art schools. So they are teaching the rules and regulations of street art for Hamburg artists and new artists. So it seems like it became like a naturalized tool or naturalized what can you say, part of the city urban history that they cannot deny or remove or ignore. So they consider they dealt with the matter and they accepted it and they tried to control it in a peaceful way. The other example from Breda, as I just mentioned, the city hall is taking the lead, collaborating, even funding the Blind Walls Gallery and supporting them to get consensus from the local community and to support them with tools, machines, and also like products for doing graffiti. This is how like the concept of what can be done if we have a consensus of at least some acknowledgement from the local policymakers. On the other side, in Shibuya, for example, if you check the Shibuya website and check about the regulations or restrictions over graffiti and street art, you will find a written rule by law that restricting graffiti or writing scratch or doing any paintings over the wall, public or private walls, you will be fined up to 1 million yen, and you may be jailed for up to 5 years. So very, very, very harsh or very like tough punishment, and that's why I told you that's very risky to do it. However, and a big underline, however, it didn't stop it, and even in Shibuya, it increased and even more worse, because as you can see, you cannot control it at night, or you can watch every single, and you can say they can trace their faces. Okay, I give you some funny example from one artist. He told me I go there with a mask and gloves, so they cannot trace my fingerprints, they cannot trace my face. So they are totally prepared for doing that. So I don't support. It doesn't mean from my side that I support doing it, but those artists didn't find someone who can like find a way of consensus or like finds them or offers them a place, other places as alternative to do. So, for example, one of the ideas that I proposed during my unbroadcasted interview with NHK. So they asked me what is the alternatives, and I told them at the beginning we should offer a space like what Hamburg did with a bunker, giving the bunkers, the left bunkers from World War II as practice place for the artists, so they can use it as a free space for graffiti, as you may sometimes find free place for skateboarding, right? So this is one of the ideas that you can dedicate, or like then you have the you have the rights now to punish the people who are offending this rule. So those are examples of how the policymakers are dealing with the matter. However, it didn't stop it. In our research in 2022, we counted 640 examples from Tokyo only. Tokyo, 7 wards in Tokyo, 640 examples of graffiti and street art. And yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
Yeah, before Annika's question, we still have Ishii-san's question. Thank you for your presentation. Has graffiti and street art increased in Japan or around the world compared to the past, for example, 20 or 30 years ago?
Yeah, that's a very good example. Yeah, you know why?
Mm,
In Japan, I can't tell you whether it's increased or not, because we didn't have before somebody who is documenting it, except I think few examples, including me and another two researchers who published one chapter in 2016, only doing counting or quantifying the examples of graffiti in Shimokitazawa and other wards in Tokyo. I comparing my findings and my research findings and previous findings from 2016, I can tell you yes. However, those are like not very precise conclusion. I cannot make a precise conclusion based on only those two examples. But that's a very good point to mention, because we are willing to go back again after 5 years to the same places we documented, because we didn't document only with pictures, but also the pictures using iPhones. If you know, iPhones can include the coordinates for the mural, so you can go back later, go to the same places, and to check whether the murals still exist or disappeared, or you can find other examples of new murals or new street art types or graffiti increased. So we will compare after 5 years. I mean, in 2027, we will go back to compare, and it will be a longitudinal approach study. That's what we will do the same in Hamburg as well. But the situation in Hamburg is very complex because there are thousands there. So we limited our geographic scope to just control our research limitations. So this is how it works. Yeah, literally, I can't say now it's increased or not, but over the world, yes. And we have something called ephemerality, or the status of removal of graffiti. Compared
right.
to Japan, it's very quick to find for a mural to be removed or to be overpainted in Europe than in Japan. So you may find we found some examples in Japan dated back to 2016, but in Hamburg or other cities, except for the Blind Wall Gallery murals, they date back to the latest one, or the oldest one date back to 2015. So most of the other examples in Hamburg, Berlin, or other cities, they are very recent because they are repainted and removed.
Okay, I think it's a student from ECU from Australia. My question is, many cities use public art and murals to revitalize neglected areas. From your research, have you found examples where this transformation successfully lead to long-term community and tourism benefit rather than short-term visual appeal?
Uh, yeah. Mm, you mean you are talking about tourism, right? From tourism perspective. Did I get it well? yeah, he's asking about the long-term transformation for
Right.
community.
Community
Community, okay.
and benefit from
Okay,
tourism.
okay. Like I'm not sure whether he's asking about in Japan or other parts of the world, but let me give you both sides. For other parts of the world, I can say yes for community, because now sometimes you find in Hamburg, for example, they dedicated at the Museum of Art History in Hamburg. They invited the local community, and they asked them to write their names as an experience of trying the graffiti legally for the first time. So this kind of giving them the feeling to have the feeling of doing it for the first time. But this is a kind of socializing point. I give you also an example from San Pauli Stadium in Hamburg. Another example from Breda City for local community. I mentioned it helps the local community to share their stories about the past history of Breda, right? So it's a kind of something that connects the local people with artists and with their city. When you pass by, if you are living there and you are local people and you pass by the mural that explain or represent your story, you will feel more proud and you will take care of it. Then this strengthens your proudness and connection with your city in one way. On the other way, as I told you, like this has changed the people perception towards street art and graffiti gradually. So it will be on the long term, not on the short term, for Japanese people. But in Breda and other cities worldwide, it was very quick, because they are doing it professionally and they find consensus and agreement very quickly. So yeah, this is how I can say community-wise. But for tourism-wise, in Japan, not yet at all. Yeah, it will be on the long term. It takes a lot of time to convince first the policymakers in tourism to adopt street art as alternative tourism product, as effective tourism product that can attract tourists. And to do so, this is our rule. This is what we are doing now in our project, that we're showing successful examples some parts in the world. But the answer we have that Japanese community is conservative and different than Western community, and this, like, sometimes we need to get consensus from local community first to accept it. Then you have to stop to adopt a bottom-up approach, not a top-down approach. Once you convince the local community, the mid-level policymakers in city hall municipalities, so the top-level policymakers will go for it. So
Right.
it's a bottom-up approach.
Can I have a quick question after this before the next question? Because I see from contemporary art perspective, Japanese contemporary art is quite unpolitical compared with the Western or other part of the world. My question is, if it's a too bottom up, is this street art and graffiti art in Japan, is there a political layer in it? Did you see a lot of political information from this art?
Critical.
Political.
Political.
Yeah, because I assume if it's more political, it will be less attractive for tourists.
Yeah, that's a very smart question as well. Like I'd like to thank you. Okay, this is how the artists as well are aware of. If they want to get their work acknowledged, especially if
Right.
they are supported by the city hall or some local organizations, they will avoid political controversial issues. That's why I told you during my presentation that they have to draw a sketch first for this mural and to get voting, some kind of board meeting voting on it. Then they decide whether they will place it into the street or not. So this is one important issue. However, if you visit Berlin East Gallery Wall, the Berlin Wall East Gallery, you will find a lot of political murals.
Right.
And it seems that Berlin is another like realm, or they have more freedom or tolerance with giving more space for artists or other like political activists to express.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So in Berlin, mainly in Berlin. But I couldn't say that in other cities I found a lot of examples, maybe one, maybe sexual, sometimes some sexual murals, educational, but
Mhm.
political, I didn't. Yeah,
All right.
I can say so.
Okay, we are almost out of time, but let me read the last question, okay? From
Yeah.
Sharon from ECU. There is another question, but rather a personal experience I would like to share about street art. One of the most remarkable street art sites I have visited in Georgia, Town Street in Penang. It stands
Mhm.
out from other street art because the artists use real objects, such as bicycles, swings, motorcycles, and chairs, into their work to create a three-dimensional effect. Mm.
This is the Banksy
Yeah.
approach. Yeah, as I showed the
Mm.
example, yeah. So Banksy, I think they are inspired by Banksy, as I showed the example of the tree, right? So
Mm.
Banksy using a left tree without leaves to show his idea. So this is a common approach using the real objects.
Mm.
So yeah, for artists, they tend not to imitate others. Yeah, this is a kind of
Mm.
a rule among artists. They want to have their own unique style.
Mm.
That's why when you see that all artists they say, "Hey, you are doing like Banksy." So that's why this kind of approach attracts the interest and it's creative, so that people may admit it or may think about its creativity in another way. So that's why the artists are using this approach to find some consensus or tolerance with street art. However, again, it's already like credited for Banksy, yeah,
Mm.
using it. How I like it so much because you have to think about, hey, why what's this, what does it mean, and using some leftover tools or objects in the environment is also like something environmental. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, I think we are over time for 2 minutes and a half, but I think it's wonderful. It's perfect.
Yeah, I like to thank you so much for the
Yeah,
insightful and interesting questions. I really enjoyed it. And
yeah.
also, I'd like to thank you for staying late to join us into this presentation. Thank you so much for Mohsen for
Okay,
the invitation and looking forward to join you again.
okay. Thank you very much, everybody, and also Middle Sensei, and wish everybody have a great evening.